Well, hello all my friends. This Beaver Report has been brought to you by all the American corporations that actually own Canada. So let's give a hand for corporate America. They're wonderful people and they're just doing everything they can.
Where am I? This is strange. This isn't what I paid this company for. This isn't... I spent a lot of money, $500,000 to get myself frozen. I got myself frozen. Where am I? I want my beaver. I want my Armani suit. I want my condo. Where the hell am I?
Out there recognize just how stressed society has become lately. I mean, it's placed on us from all corners. Economic stress, political stress, everything just coming down. You look at the situation and you say, okay, I've seen crises come and go. I've seen democracy slowly being whittled away for years, so why is it different now? I guess part of it is the clown car election going on to the south. I find it interesting to see how many people are fooled by the whole theater that's going on, the tough on China bit. Let me tell you about tough on China. 1989. Back then there weren't very many Chinese products. I mean, I remember initially it was like a few paint brushes and, a couple of cheap little items. Nothing high tech certainly or anything. That stuff came from Japan. And the higher end stuff came from Europe or North America. 1989, Tiananmen Square, I attended a rally and I decided that we should boycott China at this point. And trade was just beginning to open up in this period, and obviously the greed heads were out there rubbing their hands together with glee, knowing soon that they would be able to employ slave labor and begin the deindustrialization of those spoiled Western countries. These folks had no loyalty to country, no loyalty to anything but themselves, quite frankly. A group of psychopaths gather together, decide that it's okay to rape the earth, it's okay to destroy everything because I'm going to go off to my little private island and get laid. Well, just another evening. Just another evening in the industrial wasteland of North America.
I consider myself a doomer. Okay? I don't want the world to be destroyed by humans, which is what we're doing. And it's the political hierarchy that are doing it because all good people are kept out of it. There's no chance for good people to advance in a corrupt society.
Well, good evening and welcome to Environmental Coffee House Vegematic,
Thank you,
aka
Sandy.
Chris. And you
Boy, those were
reminded me
some there were
what?
some old clips there. I had forgotten about making some of that stuff, you know. It was probably about 10 years old, some of it.
It was
And
2015, one of them.
oh, okay. So that was a long time ago. Yeah. Wow, 8 years. I haven't changed that much. Couple of near-death experiences, but I'm still here and I'm still hanging around and
Yeah, that's
I'm
scary.
still sounding the alarm, although the alarm started to sound a little ridiculous after 20 years ago because I was sounding the alarm 40 years ago even and saying what was going on. And I was laughed at. Quite frankly, I was trying to explain to people what was going to be happening. Nobody wanted to listen to me. I went without a car. My wife and I went without a car for years. We rode bicycles to get around
Mm.
and ate vegetarian. And people thought we were just weirdos and that, we didn't make any sense. We
They
weren't
thought
going
you
to,
were weirdos.
yeah, no, we were just crazy people. So I don't know. Now I guess a lot of people consider me crazy, but I am a doomer, and it's just because I've experienced life for enough years to realize that it's only getting worse, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And there are people that are still going, "This is fine. Their house could be on fire, but it's just fine." No matter how many climate disasters that are going on, it just keeps getting worse, and nobody is really taking it seriously. Politicians, they're the ones to blame for all of this. Going back, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming 50 years ago.
Yeah, we did.
And yet it was just ignored because nothing is as important as the economy, and that's it. And
Never.
people want to be continue to be pampered and to live a life of luxury and a middle class suburban lifestyle, and it's just not possible anymore. And don't get me started on the overpopulation and how people are going to be starving. I mean, this is you've got overpopulation combined with the climate disasters. There's going to be food crisis coming up in very short
Yep.
amount of time, and even for us spoiled Westerners, we're gonna be noticing it. We already are with just the inflation and the price of food constantly jumping up and everything,
Constantly.
and
Yes.
and it's really hard to live in a city these days. Because you don't have the room to garden and to produce your own
Right.
food, and sure, I'll go out to farmers markets and things like that, but that's not going to be around forever. And here in Ontario, they're just paving over more farmland all the time. There's in the city that I live, London, we've got a huge brownfield area. These
Yeah.
old factories that are have been abandoned, and of course they leave the city. These multinational corporations leave the city with the cleanup bill, and rather than tear down the old crap and build there, they just keep expanding outward and outward and outward, and it's all really good farmland around here that's going to be destroyed, and it's exactly the opposite of the direction we should be moving in.
Right.
And you sound like a broken record after a while, just and you feel like you're bashing your head against the wall trying to get some people to sort of realize the dire straits we're in, and we're heading towards a brick wall at 10,000 miles an hour, and everybody's living their lives like it's just normal. It's normal for half of Alberta to be on fire here, and that's uh, that's crazy. I mean, there's a very far right government in Alberta, and they refuse to ask for federal help because the premier of that province absolutely hates Justin Trudeau. So they let the wildfires burn for almost a week. before calling the feds in to, send in water bombers and everything. And
Yeah. Crazy.
and now there's this little guy in the House of Commons that stands up and says it's Trudeau's fault that half of Alberta is on fire, and
Oh,
they did that deliberately so that the Conservatives wouldn't win the election. And it's just we've got our own issues up here, and that, like you were saying earlier, it's bleeding through from America, and
I'm
it's just
sorry. I'm so sorry.
it has been for a while. I
I
mean,
know.
we're just an American branch plant, and that's it. We're sort of a resource extraction zone for
Oh,
America, and
yeah.
it's just the way things are.
Well, thank you for that introduction. We're going to see
Well,
the
I'm
way things
cheerful as
are.
always.
Yeah, it's
I'm always
okay.
cheerful and so positive and optimistic.
Yeah, right. That's why we're doing this article by Jessica Wildfire. And I
Right.
chose it for both of us old farts because she's like young. She may be my daughter's age. And we love her. And I thought you'd be the perfect person to go over this with me. And I do want to do this. So we're going to change gears a little bit. And guys, I'm going to read this really quick. And then what we're going to do is Veg is going to pick out pieces and we're going to talk about some of the stuff to unpack because she's really good for a kid. I mean, she calls her thing okay doomer. So let me get started. I had put it in the show notes. I don't know if you guys read this or not, but I'm going to go over it really quickly. And then we're going to have some, cred to chew on. All right. So you remember Greg Gianfort? He was the politician who body slammed a reporter back in 2017. A court found him guilty of assault. Instead of going to jail, oh my God, he got to pay a fine and do community service. And now he is the governor of Montana. Talk about second chances. So Gianfort recently signed a bill that deserves some attention. It bans state agencies from considering climate change when analyzing the impact of large projects like mines and power plants and factories. So for what it's worth, Gianfort says he believes in climate change. Okay, that's the first. Yeah, he believes in climate change. Okay, that's the first flush. I think we're going to have a few. He just thinks we'll engineer our way out of it, even while he signs laws that forbid his own agencies from even talking about the problem. That sounds like a lot like your typical optimist doublespeak. Citizens of Montana don't support the bill, at least the ones that got polled. It's not just Republicans. To be honest, Gianfort is simply making American denial official. There's really no shortage of ordinary people and politicians who want to act like they're doing their part by driving an electric car or reading Bill Gates. The only difference I see is that Democrat politicians consider the climate impact of their action and then shrug. There's nothing we can do about it. Democrats are patting themselves on the back for their supposed action on climate change, even as they approve record numbers of oil and natural gas projects. Over the last few years, climate scientists have done their best to make it abundantly clear where we stand. And even Reuters will tell you our leaders aren't doing enough. We're replacing coal with natural gas, but natural gas won't save us. We're building solar wind plants, but they're not displacing fossil fuels. At best, they're supplementing our growing energy need. There's only one solution that makes any sense at all, and it's the one no one wants to hear. Consume less. The average American won't admit that, or they'll nod and pretend like they'll do something. Of course, we're not talking about turning lights off when you're not using them. We're talking about cloud and streaming services. We're talking about AI, algorithms, cryptocurrencies. We're talking about billionaires, celebrities, their private jets. We're talking about the structure of the economy itself. The things we like and take for granted require enormous amounts of power. And that's not part of the conversation right now. So take a look. Global primary energy consumption by source. Primary energy is calculated based on the substitution method, which takes account of the inefficiencies in fossil fuel production by converting non-fossil energy into energy inputs required if they had the same conversion losses as fossil fuels. So you see all the terawatts and the different power levels, and how everything up on the top, you go from traditional biomass, and then the years, how everything has changed, and then gone coal and up. And the small amounts, even though they're higher, it's just, and it's from our World and Data. So she uses some of the same things that we do. So she took the time, Jessica took the time. That's the growth of our energy needs. You cannot sustain that. It's not going to level off. Every day, tech optimists are coming up with new technologies that use more and more energy. They believe we're going to pay for it all with wind and solar, but that's not happening. They believe we're going to the climate scientists have told us there's not enough raw materials in the physical earth to sustain this pace of energy growth. It doesn't matter where you get it from. We can't keep this up. This isn't negativity or doom or pessimism. It's the truth. That's why the Montana law is so unsettling. It codifies all that climate denial and wishful thinking championed by old men who won't live to see the consequences of their ignorance. Imagine how much sheer audacity it takes to say you believe global warming is caused by humans, then to turn around and say, it's not your job to think about it, it's someone else's. Well, that's exactly what the Montana law says, and that's exactly why Gianforte and his fan club support it. They don't want to think about what they themselves can or should be doing to save what's left of the future. They want to ignore it. It's even worse when you think about Gianforte in the context of his body slam. Here's a guy who goes around smiling and talking about the future, but if you hold him accountable, if you ask him any hard questions, he's not going to stop and examine his own ideologies or assumptions about the world. He's going to attack you. When he attacks you, nobody's going to hold him accountable. He's going to pay a fine and do some community service. Nobody's going to ask him hard questions anymore because they've seen him body slam anyone who does and basically get away with it, even be rewarded for it with leadership positions. Isn't that very American, Veg? Gianforte perfectly, it is. He perfectly embodies what's wrong. So many people in this country want to say that they are understood, even when they understand, even when they don't. They want to brag about their grit, but they're too fragile to ever listen to honest criticism. They respond to the truth with violence, and they blame you for it because you made them feel bad. That's where we find ourselves, the bind that we are in. We know what happens when we're polite and civil. We're ignored. We get condescending explanations that everything will be okay. Nobody listens to us. That strategy has not worked for 30 years. Here's something ironic I've noticed. You can put a lot of work into being polite and civil. The people that need to hear your message most will say, oh, you're being too hard on them. They'll put words in your mouth. They'll victim signal, even as they call you names and accuse you of having no soul. There seems to be a lot of people in this country who go around talking about how positive and optimistic they are, but only if you never ask them any hard questions or make them think too hard about anything they don't like. If you challenge them or offend them in any way whatsoever, that positivity snaps like a twig. When it does, they blame you for it. Don't they? At this point, I'm tempted to list out all the little things someone can do to make a difference, but I'm not going to do it. Although she did do it in a subsequent article. That's not the problem. There's hundreds of books and articles out there on what we can do. I've written them. It's not even that hard to figure out, but no, our biggest problem involves mindsets and attitudes, hence the title of tonight's show. It's the kind of Americans who think like Greg. They admit there's a problem, but they'll do everything they can to avoid talking or even thinking about global warming when it comes to making actual decisions. When you tell them we're running out of water, that this or that part of the world is experiencing record-breaking heat waves, that Spain will be a desert in a few years, that the rainforest is turning into a savanna, they all ignore it and call you negative, which is something you know about, right, Veg?
I know all about
Yeah,
that.
you know
Yes,
all about
indeed.
that. I mean, how...
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
it just reminds me of how easy it is to ignore something when your job or your money depends on you ignoring it. It's very easy to say, well, I'm not going to do an environmental review here because I've got a campaign coming up and I've got donations coming in. And it just goes on forever like this, and it's never going to change. So, if it were going to change, we should have begun this at least 20, 30 years ago. Electric cars, all that stuff, it's not going to make a difference. It's still the amount, like you pointed out, the amount of electricity that's going to be needed to power all these things, the cars alone, the lithium production, which is really the lithium. If you've ever seen what's left of a landscape after the lithium has been
Oh, yes.
extracted, and it's crazy to go on doing the same things over and over again and somehow expecting different results. And that's what all these so-called leaders do. Uh, Sure, in
Which is what she
Canada,
says.
we have a relatively progressive government that says, okay, they brought in a carbon tax, which is all, I mean, it's not going to make much of a difference.
No.
And yet at the same time, they bought a pipeline. They
Yeah.
paid for a pipeline. So it's this pretending to understand or pretending to do something about it when really they're just as stumped as the rest of us as to what to do. And like the article says, the only thing that is going to change anything is if we stop consuming so much. And I do not see anybody in the mindset of wanting to make the slightest bit of sacrifice to give up anything to
Yeah.
save the planet. And anything you do at this point, it's almost too little too late.
Right.
I don't see anything changing. I think it's going to have to take, I think, a massive movement of young people and people like
She's one of
this
them.
author, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, their generation is being left with all the crap that our generation has done, and they're supposed to fix it. And meanwhile, they have no economic power, no political power. There's nothing that is being done. It's just inevitable what's going to happen. And as things get worse and people's quality of life goes down, uh, there's always victimizing some group or some blame, like don't look over here, it's these woke people, it's
Oh my
this, it's
God.
that, it's the hatred that goes along with this and lies to just perpetuate this oil and gas thing that's just going on and on.
On
they
and on.
they will not stop under any circumstances because it's a big money machine and it's so well entrenched in our society that it would take just a massive amount of will to
Mm-hmm.
make even small changes, even to delay what's going to be coming our way.
And
I,
that isn't
I
lost on
don't
Jessica. I mean, she
know.
says we're not asking that much of people or corporations. We're asking for steady state economies that aren't based on endless growth and relentless manipulation of consumers. We're asking for companies to make clothes that last more than one wash. We're asking them not to intentionally design products that fall apart after a few years solely so they can sell more junk. We're asking for billionaires to be content with a few $1 million and not constantly put profits ahead of anything. We're asking politicians to think about the planet. And what's their response? No. Just like you said, Veg, they're not going to do that. And some people wonder why we get angry. It's this. We get angry because the people who need to change are the ones passing laws saying they don't even have to listen to climate scientists or activists. And yet they also want to take credit for being positive, warm, caring people who understand the issues. I think the Montana law reveals a lot about the optimistic mindset these days. You can only be optimistic about our future if you completely disregard the facts and reality, or if you indulge in the worst forms of narcissism. If you only care about yourself and never listen to anyone, then yeah, sure, everything's fine. Let's hear it for her. That was pretty good. I'm looking for the goddamn applause. I can't find it. Where's that goddamn? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yay, Jessica. All right, we give it to Jessica. Now, we will finish our talk. All right. So
All right.
what would you like to, is there anything from the article you want to specifically get into, or it's it's your night?
I think it's just tragic that young people see this and we can't. Our generation are the most selfish generation as far as I'm concerned. I'm 66 years old, and I probably won't have to face what these young people are going to have to deal with. And yet I'm concerned about it. I have been for years and years.
Yep.
And it just, wow, at what point are people going to stop and
I don't
say,
know.
hey, we can't live this way anymore. We
When it
just
gets to
can't
this,
do it. Yeah, whoops, we killed all the crops.
Broilant contains paper, dirt, and gum. Have this meal replacement food bar instead, and it's happening.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I don't know where we can. I mean, you are an activist. We've been doing this stuff for years and years, and you get to the point sometimes where you just think, okay, what's the point? Why am I still bothering doing this? But it's because it's a moral question. And if you don't at least say, hey, okay, there's got to be some way that we can do something about this. If there's nobody listening, I just, and if you're arresting the activists, like if you look at what's been going on in England, where the environmental protests have been completely made illegal. They're arresting people that try and protest
Yeah,
from the Extinction Rebellion,
terrible.
and they're actively suppressing any sort of discussion about what's going on because, hey, it's more important for us to keep burning this fossil fuels. It's more important to keep the corporations happy. It's more important than life itself, and which is what we're doing. I mean, and not to mention my feelings on what we're doing to animals
Oh my
who
God.
share this planet with us.
Yep.
Unfortunately for them, the factory farming, the endless, burning the Amazon for Burger King, and
Veg, even things like today in North Carolina, the Humane Society wrote to me, and they just did another rescue of like 50 or 60 dogs at some, unscrupulous pig breeder's house.
yeah,
I mean, that makes me feel like we are so fucked. Totally, because humanity is just it's like so ugly at times
more than ugly, vicious and cruel, and
and
deliberately so.
worse.
And there have been reports coming out of slaughterhouses around here with horrendous animal cruelty
Oh my God.
has been documented. Like just torturing these poor pigs, and uh, I just it turns my stomach. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to give up on life itself, and I just think I
You
hate
can't.
humans. I don't want to hate humans. I mean, there's some very decent humans out
Yeah.
there that I'm very close to, that I love dearly, but humanity as a whole is disgusting because
How
and
about it's
and
the systems that humanity has created for themselves? I mean, yes,
yeah,
human beings have always been torturous to each other. They've always had slaves. They've always held people down. They've always murdered. They've cut them off. I mean, it's a vicious, we are a vicious species.
I don't think all humans though. I think
Not
there's
all.
something
No.
that's something good in us that's being lost or that's been beaten out of us over the years because Uh, most children, when they look at animals, are fascinated by them. They don't want to torture them. They don't want, they love them. And I think that part of us, the compassionate part of us, the part of us that is truly human,
Yep.
is being denied, and people are being punished for compassionate acts. And what happened recently here is that this woman got arrested because there was a truckload of pigs being taken to the slaughterhouse, and she took pity on them
Mm.
and was giving them water at the
Yeah.
back of the
It's
cart,
pretty
and
awful.
she was arrested for it. You know, this is the point we've come to where even the small act of compassion is looked upon as, well, you can't do that. That's not how we do things, and humanity is just, excuse me, fucked. I'm sorry. We are
And even
completely,
what they do to each other. I mean,
well,
in the United States, the shootings every
oh,
fucking day. I was so
I
depressed
know.
today, and the younger kids are getting hold of these crazy ass weapons. I mean, not just the, vintage old little shotgun that just, grandpa had laying around
Yeah,
to get a deer, but it's just, yeah, Gozer says if the stuff is available, people will use it.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what happens with the guns here. Tell us about Canada a little bit. Can you tell me about the gun laws up there?
Um, well, with okay, we originally had really some of the best gun laws, the strictest gun laws in the world quite a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Handguns completely banned. You could not buy a handgun. When Stephen Harper, the former conservative prime minister, got in, he gutted all that, and
Mm-hmm.
we are starting to have a weapons problem here. There were this little town. Well, it's becoming a big city now, but where I lived, a shooting was a really rare thing. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe once every few years there'd be some gunfire in the city, and now there's people getting shot here too. And of course, they're trying to bring in more sensible regulations to ban assault weapons now,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, the right wing just are freaking out. And it's all about my freedom and my freedom, my freedom. Well, what about the freedom of
Freedom.
the
They've
people that
never
you're
really known freedom.
terrorizing?
What is
That's not
freedom?
freedom.
No one's ever
That's
had freedom anywhere.
not really,
No.
not really. And just what's going on with the guns in America is beyond belief that nothing changes after uh, what is, I think there's something like how many mass shootings this year alone?
I don't know.
It's 150 or something, and I
No,
don't know.
no,
Every
it's
day, it's
225 or more.
good Lord,
Yeah, good Lord.
and
What good
nobody.
Lord?
No,
I don't know of any good Lord, do you? Sam says that all the time too. He goes, "Good Lord." I'm like, "What Lord? Lord of the Rings?"
yeah,
Oh,
but yeah, and then the Republicans in these crazy ass states down there. Uh, well, resist any effort to do even the slightest bit of control. Who the hell needs an AR-15 assault rifle to go hunting?
You
It's
don't.
just, I mean, that's just insane. They're useful in what way? The only thing they're designed for is to kill large amounts of people in a short amount of time. And yet they're apparently selling more guns than ever this year. And it's usually the MAGA heads that are going crazy and arming themselves to the teeth. I don't get it. I've never understood guns. I've never owned a gun.
Well,
I
I do.
Yeah, you live in the country and it's necessary,
Well, yeah, and they
for
were
your
from my
protection.
ex-husband, actually. And he taught
Well,
me, he was the outdoors guy, but I have them. But God, one's an old Ithaca Featherlight Deer Slayer from the 1970s. I mean,
yeah,
they're vintage. And the other
yeah.
one's a varmint gun. But believe it or not, that little varmint gun, that that is marketed for children. We won that at a gun show, and it says on the side of it, my first like shotgun or rifle or whatever the hell. It's a single bolt, little bullet. But one
Yeah,
could, that's the one I keep around. But
sure.
it's disgusting. I
Yeah.
never would have had these had they not been left to me in the divorce.
Well, I've never felt the need to own a gun.
Good.
I think I've shot one once, a 22 when I was about 10
A
years
kid.
old and I lived in the country. My father had a 22 and we'd do some target practicing, but it never held any particular fascination for me. Um, I don't know anybody who owns a gun. Nobody in my social circle owns a gun. So
I
it is
do, so
different.
I'm in your social circle.
Okay, okay. Well, yeah, but you're also an American, so
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
mean,
We're the whack jobs.
isn't it against the law to not own a gun in America? I
Stop.
don't
Oh
know.
my God. That's horrible to
Um,
say, isn't it?
it
Yeah.
is, it is, the U.S. is the only country that has this level of mass violence going on constantly. And boy, it just breaks my heart, especially when you see little children getting blown away. And I think what they need to do is start showing pictures of the aftermath in the media, and then maybe people might sort of push their politicians to put some controls on these
Why
things.
don't they do that? Is it
I don't.
just
Well,
too much for
it's the
they think
same.
little pussies
It's the
can't take
same.
it?
Yeah. It's the same reason that they don't allow, when America has a war, that they don't allow reporters to just report on it or show any bloodshed or anything and clean it all up. It's just a
Yeah.
video game, right? And people aren't dying and suffering, and uh, yeah, they know that if people saw this stuff, they'd be horrified. If they saw the classroom after this crazy gunman had gone in there and murdered all these kids, and they showed the bloody
Yeah.
aftermath, maybe it might make a difference. But
Well, maybe that
it's
should be something that we could start or somebody could start and
yeah,
writing, on mass, writing to the media and saying we want to see all of the blood and gore. We don't want to hide it from Americans. We want to show to the world what we are
yeah,
doing. For God's
yeah,
sakes, when Vietnam happened, we saw all those dead bodies. We
and
did.
that's why,
They showed
and
it on the
that's yeah.
TV.
And that's why you don't see it anymore because that really ended the Vietnam
Sure,
War in
it
a
did.
lot of ways. There was such a backlash against it. But you think of the last wars, Afghanistan and Iraq and all that. You never saw anything. You saw like bombs going off and everything, but you never saw the blood and guts and the horror and the terror
Hmm.
and the screaming people and everything. It's all sanitized. I don't know, Sandy. It's just when I think about this stuff, it just
That and another thing that gets my craw that happened
yeah,
today is, and she talked about it, and Jennifer and I did it on our show, is these denying people. And I saw a video today it was about the ice cores and some 4-minute clip that was cherry picked bullshit on some guy named Ivor, whatever I'll tell you what his name is because he's a right wing, um, kind of, I don't know, some kind something happened to him. I don't know what happened to him. Ivor Cummins. And I mean, it's very easy for me to get into a thing with this dude, but he gets almost 400,000 views on a 4 minute bullshit piece of crap science cherry picked garbage. And Paul Beckwith and Jim Massa, what do they get? A couple of thousand views. Maybe Jim doesn't
Yeah.
even get that. And they are scientists that are telling the
Mhm.
truth about what's going on. Pisses me off. I was angry all day when Rollins Switch sent it to me. Alan, my
Yeah.
friend, he's one of our followers. He sent, you know him, Rollins Switch. He sent it to me,
Yeah.
and then I was off. Up, that was it. All day long, I was pissed off over this, and so I was on talking to my scientist friends on this group I'm on Twitter, telling them about this. That I think these are the kinds of things we need to counter with 4 minute videos. You know,
Yeah.
will it
But
work?
no, because really, I mean,
Or
you
it
take
is.
your show. Now, your show is successful as far as YouTube go. Well, I mean, it's
It
not,
isn't.
you're not the Young
I'm not
Turks, but,
monetized. I'm not
yeah, you're not.
young. And that's a
No,
big thing too. No,
that's
nobody wants to
true.
look at an old broad. They want to look at the they love Alona. And I love Alona. When she came on.
I don't know. They're not going to push, the algorithm's not going to push your content. Whereas,
No.
if there's somebody with money behind it, and climate deniers, especially the cherry pick stuff and everything, there's money behind it, and so you're just not going to see the truth. I don't know. I guess there's some really successful channels that are all right, but they're not. No, they're not. No, not really. When you think about the
Stop it.
largest, no, the largest tubers in that, they're not really about the environment. Very, very
No,
few casually mention it a
they
bit.
don't. And that's another thing on the lefty ones that I watch. They are always talking about good topics,
Sure.
unions and all the stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm in the chats and I'm saying, have me on your show. I'll talk about what's going on, and the climate crisis. They just lightly talk about it, and they're still having kids and they're young. And I really think that it is very sad that, all right, they're having kids, but that they're not grasping. And I also think they figure, oh well, somebody else will fix it. The
Yeah.
techno utopians are going to come along and they're going to fix it, and we'll have our solar panels, or a Tesla. Oh, and I wanted to tell you today, I watched the Tesla shareholders meeting today,
Okay.
and I caught Elon Musk talking to these people. It was an all white audience with a lot of gray bald heads. It was a lot of there were younger, like techie, Bitcoiny people there, and Elon was talking about all of the technology in the vehicle. And the chat was hilarious because they were all saying, oh, okay, it's going to tank, the stock, it's going to tank tomorrow. And he's doing this and that. But he's not the brightest. I mean, he
No.
can really talk a good game, but it's his engineers. I don't think it's him. I think he might, he has some vision, or he had some vision until he became completely sold out. How that happened. What do you think about him?
Well, I think Musk, I mean, if you look at his background, he's from a really wealthy emerald mining family in South
Yeah.
Africa. And he bought Tesla. He didn't invent anything. He's basically a businessman. And honestly, I can't stand him anymore. I mean, since he took over Twitter, Twitter is garbage. I just don't bother with it anymore. I had maybe, I don't know, 12, 1,300 followers on there, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
still do,
We're
but I
live
don't.
on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't go on there anymore because I can tweet out something, and I used to get, a bunch of people talking back and forth, responding to it. Now, nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's just covered in like right wing crap. And no,
I
Elon,
know.
to me is just an idiot. You don't just another. He's another oligarch and doesn't really contribute much. I don't think that. I mean, buy an exploding Tesla. I don't know. I don't want one. I don't.
Oh, the
I
big
don't.
thing was the self-driving. And they
Oh
had
yeah.
people. Now, I don't know if these were shills or what, but there were people in the audience that were saying there was a woman with kids saying, "Oh, that's all I ever use." They're talking, they're touting it all. And I am not one to say, because look, I don't want to look like the people back in the day when the Model T came and they were all saying, "No, we want our horses. No, we." I mean, I don't want to be like that, but yet it's so different than then. What
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
now?
Well, actually, we should go back to horses.
I have a video. I forgot to of my neighbor leaving.
Oh,
I forgot to bring it up. Ah, shit. Well, talk. I'll bring it up. I'll find it.
talk. Okay, now I'm gonna talk.
Let me see if I can put it over. No,
Okay.
give us more. You're good at it. You're a
I,
YouTuber.
I,
You're
I yeah,
a
but I
YouTuber.
have an editing suite, and I'm not under the live stream gun, so to speak. Uh,
Oh, the
I
live
think
stream
that
gone.
yeah, I am naturally, believe it or not, kind of a shy person. But yeah, that article was awesome, and but it only really scratched the surface
Yeah.
of what's going on. I mean, that's one small thing, and that is repeated over and over and over again around the world. So, how do we draw attention you can endless articles that it's like it's like Jessica said,
Mm-hmm.
the, there's no shortage of information if you want it. Um,
True.
but there's also people that are still in denial, and that is just unreal to me. I just don't see how, given everything that's going on in the world, you can go, "Oh, everything's fine. The technology is going to fix it."
Everything's just fine.
Technology is what has caused our problem. You're not
Well,
going to fix
sure.
it with more technology.
A lot
What
of
using
it. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a Luddite. I'd like to go back to the 19th century, or earlier, pre-industrial age, actually. But yeah, I don't really have any of the answers. I don't think anybody
All
really
right,
has
wait a
the
minute.
answer.
I've got the
Here's the video.
video. I've got the
Yeah.
video. Hang on. All right. There was a comment on Twitter about uh people freaking out and giving up cars. But if you never had cars, right? You never had
Right.
cars.
Ah,
That's my neighbor.
Mennonite.
No Amish.
They're
Bye, Harvey. They're Amish. So
Amish.
actually, yeah. So if they've never had it, and they're not drivers. I mean, there are Mennonites that do drive, but the are
Mm,
not here. It
yeah.
no, no, no. So yeah, if you don't know what you're not missing it. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like to say, well, they're cruel to their animals, blah blah blah. Well, not around here. I've never seen it, and believe me, I travel. I go
Yeah.
they're my neighbors. I watch. I watch.
Now, of course, occasionally around here we have a large Mennonite community. And every once in a while, you hear of horrible accidents on the highway where cars hit these horses, and they have to be put down and everything. So they're mixing it on the highway. Taking it on the highway is kind of scary,
Yeah,
and they're not designed for that. I'd like to see us
they
go
don't do
back
that
to
here.
a simpler time. I just think, okay, for one thing, everybody stop breeding. That would that would solve 90% of the Earth's problems. If we could cut the birth rate by 90%, it would probably help. Uh,
How do you
then maybe,
expect anybody to do that?
well, I don't understand why they don't. When I was a young man, and I never wanted kids, and I thought, well, People aren't going to want kids in the future because they have a choice now with effective birth control,
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
boy was I wrong. Boy was I wrong. And I never had that parental instinct or wanting to have a little piece of me. So I don't understand why people keep reproducing. Because I don't know what kind of life those kids are going to have. I would think a person born today, what's the world going to be like by the time they're reach their 21st birthday? Will it even exist anymore? I don't know. I think that maybe, the collapse of industrial civilization that Sam's always talking about
Mm-hmm.
is probably coming pretty quickly, probably more quickly than people realize. And how all these young people are going to survive, I don't know. It's going to be part of the hungry, starving masses trying to kill each other over a loaf of bread. I don't understand why, with effective birth control, people have to keep breeding, and with the fate, the the way the fate of the earth is hanging in the balance.
Right.
But we just keep, you see, that's where I think, well, science could help us. They provided us with effective birth control, but I think you got to use it for it to work. Or there's people that just have so many kids that have no way to look after them.
Well, the
And
problem in America is that there are children that are neglected and born, and the drug problem is fueling that, and we have an
yeah,
out of control problem of unwanted children or
yeah,
dysfunctional children that grow up and are, you know, unfortunately the drug problem. And I think the war on drugs has failed, and I don't even know if we never had a war on drugs, would we ever even have the problems we have now in this country?
probably not.
No,
Probably not.
I
The
don't
that
think
whole war
so.
on drugs thing has been insane. And really, if you look at the problems with fentanyl and the opiates, that's largely driven by a big corporation that they were prescribing those and got all these people hooked on stuff. It wasn't really the street corner uh, guy in a dingy part of town selling heroin. I mean, there's that, I guess, but it's more that when there's big money involved, you can get away with it. I don't care. Uh, I don't really care how they try and enforce it. It's not, people have always taken drugs. People will always try and stop the pain
Hell
that's going
yeah.
on. And you're not going to stop it. And when you stop it, it opens the door to all this corruption. I've heard stories of judges on the take from sending kids to these rehab centers till their parents because their parents have insurance, and they get a kickback from it. There's so many ways, or crooked cops that are dealing drugs.
Mm.
That goes on. Uh, I just don't understand. Okay,
Does it
you
go on in
let
Canada
people.
like it goes on in the United States?
Oh, sure. Oh, we've
Okay.
got junkies. We've got some really
Oh, you know,
horrendous problems here.
they don't call them junkies anymore, by the way.
Oh, okay.
No, I was thinking to myself today, actually, when I was watching something again. Today was one of my inside days. And they were talking about heroin and, oh, it was soft white underbelly. And it was this chick, fentanyl addict, right? And, uh, they say fentanyl addict, they say the name of the drug, but they don't say junkies. And I'm thinking to myself, all these people are dying, but back when in the day, they weren't. They were just junkies. They weren't dying.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, but really a lot of people I knew that were junkies are dead. I mean, they really are. They didn't live long. I mean, they
right.
didn't have the same kind of overdose rate. They weren't overdosing at 21 like, how many friends do I have that have lost their kids? Quite a few.
Really.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Sorry to
it's
hear
a
that.
fucked up world. And I mean, I knew we were going to go here to all these topics because they're happening. They're in front of us. And
Sure.
I thought maybe I would ask the chat, I've been putting up comments, but does anybody have any questions for Veg that you would like to have answered? Uh, it would be great. I
I
know,
don't have any answers.
well, there's the wildfires that are going on in
Yeah.
Alberta, and I know that the definitely the smoke has been coming this way. But
Yeah.
hi, Nina Canadian, by the way, I wanted to say hi. Nina's here. Um,
Hi,
And
Nina.
oh, early love, important message. I got to fart right now. Up, you
Uh,
want? Do you want to talk about methane, early love? That was a perfect segue to talk about methane. Um, okay.
yeah, well, that's a question. That's really makes me feel good, Sandy. Like, ask Veg an important question. I got to fart right now. Okay.
Come on. Okay. Veg, are you snipped?
Am I snipped?
That's Sam.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, not yes, yes. Many,
Okay.
many years.
Well, he would ask. He would ask. All right.
Yeah.
Veg, what percentage of Canadians around you are maggots?
Oh, probably not as large a percent as in the States, but a fair number. Mostly they're out west, but it's like that convoy thing that they had in Ottawa. There really are these extreme right-wing groups that are very much like maggots. They're holding rallies in parking lots and I don't think they have the power that they do in the US, but it's a real growing threat. And there's a lot of the politicians now have become so influenced by Trump that they are adopting his sort of rhetoric and his
It's
attitude
horrible.
and just yeah, it is, and it's just it preys on people's ignorance and it's everywhere. It's probably in Europe too, to a lesser extent. But I'm seeing, the trucks with the flags and everything, and the F Trudeau flags, and
Mm.
mostly it started out about vaccinations and people not wanting to get vaccinated. And if you were a federal government employee, I guess you had to get vaccinated. Soylent, anybody else find Soylent Green appetizing after all the people are fighting to get it?
Just like this.
That was a that was a weird movie, Soylent Green, and
Yeah, I've used clips of
it
it.
was kind of prophetic too. Yeah. Hmm.
I've used clips. All right, let's see my question for Veg. Uh Funny, but did you meet Mark Emery when he owned City Lights Books? I think the probability is 95%, Nina.
I definitely knew Mark Emery, and he was one of the biggest jerks I knew. Uh, sure, he advocated for pot and everything. Um, he was in he ran the bookstore. There was back then, a long, long time ago, in London or in Ontario, there was a law against Sunday shopping. Like you had to close stores and that was his big first thing that he wanted to open on Sunday, and he kept getting arrested for it. And the law changed. It was kind of a stupid law anyway, kind of a leftover from the Victorian era. And he was into the weed legalization thing, big time. But he was also kind of a narcissist and incredibly self-promoting. Um, yeah, I knew Mark well. I used to talk to him a lot, but never was very impressed with him. So thanks for that, Nina.
All
Mark
right.
Emery, the so-called Prince of Pot, he became very famous because he was an idiot. I'm sorry, the dumbest people I know end up famous. So what can I say?
Yeah. Well, look at our country. Look at the politicians that we have.
Oh God, oh my God. Tommy Tuberville or Tuberville, whatever his
Tuberville,
name, uh,
Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of them. It's like,
Gothard,
there's a theory. Somebody had a theory that it's the ever rising CO2 that is destroying brains.
brain cells.
That's
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's
IQs
causing.
are dropping apparently. IQs are dropping. I
Mm-hmm.
put it down more to short attention spans due to
social media.
technology, and
Yeah.
social media, and everything. But I have some very sad news that Lauren Boebert is actually getting a divorce.
Is that true? I saw it, but that's true?
I read that today after 20 years of marriage. I guess
No
they
shit.
I guess they couldn't take it anymore. I don't know. Maybe she'll find somebody else, and
She'll
maybe
find a
Marjorie.
12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Why not? That's okay in their religion, right? All right, here's
No,
another
no.
here's another question.
Okay.
Um, how is Veg coping? Does he have a strong community? That's
This
from
is it.
Steve Angelical.
Oh, hi, Steve
Evangelical.
Angelical.
Steve
Um,
Evangelical. Yeah.
oh, I have a strong community online. Honestly, I don't do much socializing here. Most of my friends have moved away, or had kids and ended up just. No, I have a very, very great love for the people online. Sandy, Sam. Oh, I
We
shouldn't
love
say.
you.
No, he's not him, not Hambo. No,
Oh,
but no, I do get a lot of support socially by using technology. So in that way, I guess
yeah.
I'm kind of happy that it's there.
Yes.
Uh,
And until it's
I
not,
don't get out much because I have trouble walking, so I don't really.
that's
Yeah, I have to walk
hurts.
with a cane, and it's very difficult
But
for me these days to get out.
even though you're doing that, you still make kick-ass videos.
Well, that's
Holy
why I do
shit.
it.
What an artist. I mean, you really
There's
are an artist.
Oh, thank you, Sandy.
Oh
I
my
worked hard
God.
on them.
I
Yeah,
know. You are
yeah.
incredible. You are
Thank you.
incredible. All right, let's see. What did question? Okay, here's what's your favorite beer, Veg?
My favorite beer. I don't really have a favorite beer, Anthony. I like a variety, mostly I like European beers. I don't like North American beers very much. Um,
You don't like
oh,
Bud Light?
I got this one. I got Carlsberg. That's
Oh,
Danish.
all
That's what
right.
I'm drinking right now. Other than that, I don't really drink a whole lot of beer, just often. Um, but yeah, mostly European beers. How you doing, Anthony, down in Texas? You have my sympathy
I
for
know he
living down
always
there.
does. All right,
Yeah,
Veg, would you consider doing a Tommy Chong kind of live show?
a Tommy Chong kind of live show. I've never seen Tommy Chong's live show, but
All right.
I'm just not into doing a
Well,
live
it's a
show
lot.
because it's a lot. And if I had somebody to produce it, I might consider it. But I don't multitask really well. So I like having the control over the video that I make, and be, before I release it, I'm happy.
Yes,
I do a
I
lot of
did.
word salad. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody said, really, Bud Light joke. Wow. Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I did. Our country's pathetic.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pathetic.
There's a big boycott over Bud Light
Well, I don't
because
know if
of,
that's, I think that
I don't know.
manufactured outrage is gone now too. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we've
they'll
moved
find
on to the next thing.
they'll find out some other non-entity that, yeah, something else to complain about.
Ah, Nina, darling interview. Thank you for the opportunity to meet Veg in person.
Well, we haven't
Oh,
met in person, Nina, and considering you don't live that far away, maybe one day we should get together for a beer, my wife and I and you.
yeah.
Um, yeah, you're not far from me at all. I think, 20 miles from
Mm,
London?
wow.
Uh,
I'd like
anyway,
to come up there. I'm only not even 3 hours, I don't think.
yeah,
We
yeah.
were supposed to do something before the pandemic, remember, with
Mm,
Sam? And then, well, whatever. Kim,
yeah.
oh, wait. Who the hell drinks light beer? Oh, light beer. Leave it to Kim. Aw, Mara, I love everyone now. We have a
Oh,
very diverse audience. We have vegans, vegetarians, we have meat eaters, we have homesteaders, we have everybody, and everyone seems to respect each other. And I very much appreciate that because we
That's
cannot.
wonderful.
We can't control everything that everybody does, but I will say one thing about nobody is vicious. Nobody likes factory farms here. Nobody likes all that at all. And me included. I live in a farming community, so it's easy if I want to have something. I ask the fishermen. I say, well, if you're going out and you have those junk fish, don't get rid of them. I have 6 cats, okay, and they are not vegan, so that's cheap and easy cat food. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
guilty. I am guilty. So, all right. Well, let's see what else. No more questions? No more questions, guys.
Oh, come on.
Wow.
Somebody give me a good question.
Well,
No?
Gosser had said
Okay.
that it was he had no baggage, best decision he made at 17, so obviously he got
Yeah.
snipped early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're exactly the same. My wife and I decided we've been together for 45, 50, coming up on 50 years shortly. Well, another 5 years will be 50, something like that. But yeah, we never wanted children, and fortunately, we found each other, and that's why we're still happily married. Because, in my opinion, I told some Discord friends if they come to see me, we've got to go visit Veg. Yeah, yeah. Well, actually,
That's
we'll get
cool.
together. We'll get together sometime and discuss all the misery that surrounds us. Oh, thank you very much,
He's
Kristen. Yes,
wonderful. His art
yes.
just, he inspired
Thank,
me to become better at video editing, but I can never be a graphic artist like Vegmatic, like Chris. I could never be him. I can't, I would never want to try because he's just you're an artist and you're also a painting artist. I mean, a
yeah,
hand,
I
you're a,
I went to school for art, so I've done it many years. Starved many years before I sold anything, but actually, uh, I've done pretty well, comparatively speaking, with the art. I haven't been doing it as much lately, the painting end of it as much lately, because the video takes up a lot of time. But
and the
I have,
AI, playing with the
I've got some,
AI.
I've got some stuff in some pretty important collections, so I'm been lucky that way.
All right, I got a couple more here. We've got Retro Boomer. Hi, Retro Boomer. Question for Veg. Do you have any favorite comic books?
Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers.
Oh my gosh, I remember those.
Do you remember
Oh hell
those?
yeah, they the legs, the way they walked with the boots and the yeah.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
thought they were sexy. Showing my age, I remember them. Hmm.
Yeah, actually, I remember getting a big stack of them years ago, and Trish and I uh, were indulging in some kind of
Something.
recreational drugs, and sat down and just reading these things and killing ourselves, not being able to stop laughing. Fat Freddy's cat was my favorite character on that. He was an orange hippie cat, and yeah, comic books. No, I've never been a big fan. Hey, hi. Oh,
Who?
let's see. Bobby Davis. Meeting a
Yes.
doomer in person is fabulous.
We haven't met,
Well,
but I'm hoping we will. But we all live far
y-
away. Here's
yeah.
another question. Okay. How is your health? You're looking great.
Well, thank you very much. I'm coming up on 2 years since I had an 80% chance of dying. I had a really serious thing happen to me 2 years ago. I got
I
up in the
know.
middle of the night and collapsed, and Trish called an ambulance, and I can really don't remember much after that, but it turned out that I had an aneurysm in an abdominal aneurysm
That's scary.
that burst.
That's
and
crazy.
apparently 80% of people that happens to die before they get to the hospital. So I was very lucky. I had an incredibly skilled surgeon, and I managed to. I'm doing okay now. I'm not 100%. I have trouble walking. It left me with reduced use of my legs because my legs aren't getting the blood flow that they should be.
Oh,
But I'm here still, and I came so close to dying.
and we are
And
so happy you're
a
here.
plug for a plug for the Canadian medical system is that this didn't
Okay.
cost me a cent. Nothing. I
Wow.
think I paid $45 deductible for the ambulance ride. That was it.
Not
And
here if you didn't have
I was in the
insurance.
ICU for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And
I
yeah,
remember we were all terrified. All of us that
uh,
love you, we were terrified.
oh, thank you very
Well,
much.
you
But
know that. You
yeah,
know we were.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
Well,
mm.
you know, I had a lot of people pulling for me, and just a great. I can't say enough about the medical system, and people like to complain about it and everything, but you know, I wouldn't be here with it without socialized medicine. And if I would lose, I would have. If I'd lived in the States, I probably would have lost my house over something like that because it would have cost so much
Sure,
money.
if you didn't have the right insurance, even if you're
Yeah,
on Medicare, you've still got to come up with, I think, 20%. And if a bill is $250,000,
yeah,
20%, that's a lot of money. A lot of
yeah,
money. Oh,
yeah.
Book Hermit says it's free here if you are poor enough. Well, Book Hermit, in the United States, free is subjective, and the horror shows for free medical is not um so wonderful. So you can say what you want, but mm-mm. Let's see, people are being denied the right to grieve, and I'm afraid of future chaos. Florida now, anyone can have a weapon, Mara says. Yeah, anyone.
Yeah,
But now,
yeah,
guess
that's
what? You know
scary.
what else is happening in Florida? They can't get anybody to finish the developments that they've started. They can't get anybody to deliver food because the Mexicans are giving Ron DeSantis the big fuck you. So, not that I like developments, but they're not.
Well, Florida's losing an awful lot of tourist dollars because the Canadians used to flock down there in the winter all the time, and I talked to and heard from many people on Twitter that said I'll never ever go to Florida now.
Really?
Well, because they're afraid of getting shot, or yeah. I think put veg in a house coat and reading newspapers, spitting image of Bob Hunter. Oh, really?
Robert Hunter from the Grateful Dead? Robert Hunter? That Robert Hunter? What Rob Hunter? Of course, I think right away of Robert Hunter.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Didn't mean to. It's just that there's so
That's
many
okay.
good comments to put up, and I want you to see
Yeah,
them because I know you
yeah.
can't see them on your computer. So, all right, let's see here. All right. Well, I think we've. Let's see. Oh wait, could you imagine a world where DeSantis wins the presidency? Yeah, we won't. The kids won't have any books or movies. They won't have anything. They'll be indoctrinated into their woke culture. Their woke.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No history, no diversity there. Scary times. I don't know why people get so triggered about that. I mean,
Oh
especially this whole
goodness.
trans thing. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I don't care what somebody wants to do. I just don't understand what the whole big kerfuffle is about. Do what you want,
Control and
free
hatred.
world. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
Bob
why he
Hunter for
can't see
Greenpeace.
Dragonfly? He can't see the whole chat. He's seeing what I'm putting up because he's on his
Yeah, I'm
laptop.
on my laptop.
So
I'm not in my studio. If I was in my studio, I could have two
right.
computers, but I,
But he'll do this. He'll look at it afterwards and any
yeah,
comments that are there, but he'll see all that. And you know, let's see. People might have regrets like apologizing to an old friend or that tick off a bucket list. A doctor cannot lie about it, but media always doses hopium.
that's very
Mhm.
true. Yeah, very,
Mhm.
very true.
That is true. Oh
Well,
my goodness. All right. So where have we been? All right. So I think, guys, we've done pretty good. We've been over an hour. And Veg, is there anything you want to say?
I'd like
Before
to say thank you, Sandy, for having me on. And I've considered you a really good friend for many years. And unfortunately, we haven't met in person yet. One day, perhaps we will.
We're not that
And
far,
even if
really.
even if we haven't met in person, I feel like I've gotten to know you really well.
Absolutely.
And I consider you a really, really good friend. So thank
you.
you for that.
Mhm.
And thank you for all the work you're doing. You've done a fabulous job running this channel. And I know it's not easy, especially doing 2 a week.
And during
And
planting
and you-
season.
yeah,
boy.
I know you're gardening. You're
Oh,
doing
yeah. I'm killing
yeah.
myself.
So and I know you're not getting you're certainly not getting rich off of it, but you
No.
keep doing it, and because you're committed to the cause, and I think that's wonderful. And I really just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for all of us.
Well, thank you.
We really enjoy your
That's
show.
nice. All right, guys. Well,
Don't
hey.
feel alone.
No,
We
I
don't
don't
feel
feel
alone.
alone.
No.
I don't feel alone. And I've met so many. I've met Buddy, and I've met, I've had Sam Hambone. I've met so many people. Warren. I mean, it's been great. It's been really good. So, yeah, Tony says this is a good form of therapy. He's gained peace of mind from all of the good words. So, yeah, sometimes YouTube can be a good place, and it's not a vicious, ugly place when you find the right family of channels.
That's right.
We're not egging each other on with the, what do you call it? It was on one of your videos. You said it. Oh my gosh. So it's not manufactured outrage. That's what I always say. It's something about fear, not fear porn either. I don't know. I don't
Rage
remember.
farming.
Yeah, that's it. Rage farming. I love it. They rage farm. That's what we are being indoctrinated in rage farms.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Love you very much. And thank you all for coming. Don't forget, buy us a coffee, all that horse shit. And peace out. Peace out. Veg,
Take care, everybody.
love you.
Be well.